What is up, YouTube? I'm Lamb Trades, and today I'll be taking you through my weekly watch list for the week of April 16th, 2021. This is my weekly watch list video that I showcase what stocks are at the top of my list to watch out for this week. If you guys find any interest in this video, please like and subscribe as I appreciate the support. To begin, let's go over the economic events that we're going to be looking out for this week. On Tuesday, we have core CPI, which is the consumer price index, and this is going to be very important as we will talk about it later. Thursday, we have initial and continuing jobless claims and retail sales. Both of these are very important. As we have mentioned, Jerome Powell is watching for those job numbers and inflation numbers in order to determine when he will begin to raise rates. These are two very important statistics that we need to watch out for, so it's very important to pay attention to them this week. We'll also begin earnings season this week with the banks reporting first. On Wednesday, we have JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and Goldman Sachs. And on Thursday, we have Bank of America, Citi, Delta, and not a bank, but Pepsi. Delta and Pepsi are very important to see how the consumer sentiment has been over the past quarter. And the banks are important as they usually set the tone for earnings to come. These are not all of the earnings this week, but these are the ones that I feel are most important. Now, let's go over what we saw in the market last week. For the third week in a row, the S&P 500 hit an all-time high on Friday within an hour into close. As you can see, we pushed higher on Monday before getting stuck in this consolidation range from Monday through Wednesday, using 405 as support and 407 as resistance. If we actually take a look in the Discord, I did cover QQQ and SPY every night, just reviewing what we were looking for going into the next day, and that 405 level on SPY and 330 on QQQ. If we were to break below, I did think we would see a sell-off, but we were able to hold above. Gapped up on Thursday morning and then used that previous resistance as support before carrying higher to an all-time high of 411.67 on the S&P 500 on Friday. This is very bullish going into next week. However, if we do take a look on the longer time frame, we're currently at the top of this resistance trend. That would mean that this resistance trend line would act as resistance and we would bounce off of it to the downside. We're hovering around 70 on RSI, and for the market to remain healthy, I do think that it is good if we do see some consolidation or a pullback. Best case scenario, we'll consolidate around these levels. However, I would like to see a pullback just so the markets can stay healthy rather than just going straight up. We haven't had a red day on the S&P 500 for the past 11 days in a row. I do think that the CPI data on Tuesday will freak the markets out. I mentioned this earlier and said I would cover it. The reason for this is because year over year, we will see a huge increase in inflation. Because a year ago today, no one was leaving their house, so there was little to no inflation at all. Now that things are opening back up and demand is rising, we will have much higher inflation numbers, so the year over year increase will most definitely freak investors out. Inflation was also the main thing that the market is freaked out about, so I do think that we'll see a reaction to this. Other than that, if the bank earnings are positive, I do think we will see a run up into earnings in a few weeks. To sum it all up, next week we should see some consolidation and possibly a pullback rather than just green, so please be prepared for that and pay attention to those bank earnings and CPI data. I will be covering all of these in the free Discord linked below, so if you would like to join that, we'll be covering that and going through the S&P 500 and how the markets are reacting throughout the week. Now, let's go over the plays that we were watching last week. The first play we were watching was Target. If I take it to the 1 hour time frame, we liked this consolidation at the all-time highs and we were watching for a break of that 202 level. On Monday, we actually gapped up above this 202 and hit an all-time high of 207. This was one of those quick plays that we can easily play, but now again, we are consolidating at these all-time highs using previous resistance at that 202 as support on Thursday. I do like Target and I think we might be able to push higher. However, it depends which level it breaks first. If we break above 207, I think we'll see some continuation to the upside. And if we break below 202, I do think we will return to that 196. So pay attention to both levels on that. The next stock we were watching out for was FedEx. FedEx recently broke out of this trend last week, and we wanted to see a pullback using that previous resistance as support, which is exactly what we saw. I want to see FedEx break this 288 level before carrying higher, possibly to all-time highs, but as long as we can hold this support trend line, I am still bullish on FedEx. And the last play we were watching was more of a sector as a whole, but we were keeping our eye on QQQ. QQQ closed above that 324 resistance on last Friday, and we wanted to see if it could use it as support and push higher. As we can see, Monday morning pre-market, we were consolidating around that 324 before just blasting off into Monday and pushing above 330, which was the next marked level on the chart. After closing above this resistance, we then used it as support on Tuesday and Wednesday before again pushing higher. The next level to watch out for will be that all-time high, as we have pushed above that 332 resistance using its support, and we're only a few points off that 339 all-time high. I really like QQQ going into next week. I do think we may see a pullback on tech with that CPI data. I think investors will get freaked out, and tech is usually the one that really gets hurt off of those kind of inflation data. But if we can hold above 332, I like the chances that we push to an all-time high on tech. Again, I'll be covering QQQ and the S&P 500 every single night, going over what we should be looking forward to for the next day in the Discord. So if you would like to join, be my guest. If you guys are still watching, I would really appreciate if you could like and subscribe, as I do put a lot of work into these videos. But for now, let's go over the plays that we're watching for next week. The first stock I'll be watching is NIO. We're currently forming a descending triangle on NIO with a 200 SMA right below that support level. We have this resistance holding it down. If we can pull back to the support level, it could create a great entry, as I do like the chances of a bounce with the 200 SMA right below. However, if we just turn around and break above that resistance, it could also be a great entry to play to the upside. I think we will see a pullback to that 34 level, and if we can hold this 34 level and bounce and have enough strength to break through that resistance, then great, we should see continuation to the upside on NIO. However, if we do break below this 34.50, I do like the chances of us possibly retesting that $29 to $30 level, and if we break below there, we're going to be back in the lower 20s on NIO. This is one of those names that has really run up this year, so people are bound to take profit. It is one of those very volatile stocks, so it does move quick, but if we can bounce off of that 34.50, I like it to the upside with a break of this resistance. The next stock that I'll be watching is HD. The chart on HD doesn't even seem real, as it has been straight up for almost the past 20 days. The reason I like HD is because it is so overbought, and I do think if we can break below this 9-day simple moving average, which is at 310, we will see a breakdown, causing a sell-off on HD. If we do retest that 310 and break below, that MACD will have crossed, meaning we are entering a downtrend, and the trend has changed from bullish to bearish. This 310 also was used support on Thursday, and I do think that HD is very overbought right now and needs to cool off. So watch for a break below that 310 level, as it could be a good play to the downside. And the final and favorite play for this week will be Alibaba. Alibaba has got to be one of my favorites right now, as I have continued to add it to the long term this week. If we take a look at the Discord, I called it out twice, where I added on Monday, then again on Friday, as I really think this stock is insanely oversold and we're destined to see a bounce. One of my favorite things is that we do have Alibaba is converging at the support trend line and resistance. Alibaba over the weekend actually received news. This was the cause for the sell-off. China said they were increasing regulations on Alibaba and didn't like how they were becoming a monopoly in the Chinese e-commerce market. Many investors were scared that China would force Alibaba to sell portions of their business or split up completely. However, over the weekend, we got news that Alibaba was only hit with a $2.8 billion fine. I say only because they currently have $40 billion in cash and over $100 billion in assets. This $2.8 billion fine is a slap on the wrist, and it creates certainty for investors that Alibaba will remain as the business that they always have been, and there will be no underlying change in fundamentals. All of this Chinese regulation increase caused a lot of uncertainty. Investors don't like uncertainty. What this does is it creates certainty. The Chinese government is no longer hovering over Baba, and I think this is very bullish for the stock. In addition to that, we had a hammer candle bouncing off of the support trend line, retesting that 225 support. I think we may be able to gap up on this news. If we don't gap up, we might have some bearish selling off because of the news, but in the long term, this news is very, very bullish. So if we do gap up above this 225, I really, really like it. And I think that we'll see some continuation on BABA. Again, if we get above that 225, I think the next level to watch out for is 245 because of this resistance trend line. I really like how we may be able to bounce off of this support, as this support trend line is a very strong one. We've been using it for the past few years. So this support trend line has served to be stronger than this resistance. If we can bounce off of this support, I like the chances of us retesting that resistance and breaking through. If we broke through, that would basically mean we would retest 270, and the next level to watch out for would be $300 to $320 a share. This news was very bullish for BABA over the weekend. It's one of my favorite stocks going into the remaining of the year due to the growth potential that this stock has and how undervalued it is right now. We should see a run up into earnings, and a decrease in regulations is very, very bullish. I will continue to update everyone in the Discord about BABA and what I think, but in my opinion, we should see a push higher on BABA this week after a nice bounce off of that support trend line and very bullish news going into market open on Monday. There are all the plays for today. If you guys got anything out of this video, please leave a like and subscribe. If you haven't seen it yet, I am doing a Robinhood challenge where I'm taking $100 into $1,000 using credit spreads and selling premium. If you would be interested in that, click that link that just popped up on the screen. And if you want day-by-day updates on setup and what I'm thinking about the market, you can click that free Discord link in the description where you can ask me any questions, talk to me one-on-one. I'm very happy to help and I love to teach, so please feel free to reach out. But that's all for today. I'll see you guys in the next one.